Hi, this is MJ from Linus Publications. And after doing Fetterman's chart yesterday, I realized that I probably didn't provide enough information. Sometimes when you have been doing this for quite a while, you can look at a chart and sort of say, okay, there's some things that are not so good, but overall, you're not really too concerned. And that's the way I was with Fetterman's chart. And Fetterman does have some, we've got some planets retrograde now, which means it's going backwards or appears to go backwards. Now, those planets will be an issue in his chart later when they start going forward because they will make some angles. But at this point, I was not seeing that as something that was going to be really something that needed a lot of examination. But I do want to go back to his original stroke because I think it'll sort of highlight how much was going on at that time. So at that time, yes, there was a lot of stuff going on, and we can see that, yeah, there would probably be a cause for concern. So without spending, too much introduction here, let's move on to the first chart. So in this case, and I'm only taking it in effect. This one has Neptune and Mars because they're close together. The next one will have Saturn. The next one will have Jupiter. So here, now, this is all, his stroke was stemming in effect from a condition with his heart. Okay, so that's what we want to focus on here, but not only that. So let's see, we've got Neptune here and Mars, and what are they doing? It's an inconjunct to the sun. Can't get there from here. So in effect, we've got a difficult angle to the sun. Sun is the heart issue. Now, I want to point out that one of the things that can happen here is that we have in his natal chart, we actually have Neptune that is squaring Sun. So this is a sort of a precursor saying, yeah, at some point we may have issues with what? Our heart. Now, the next thing we have here is that Neptune and Mars is actually in opposition. And by the way, I have oppositions in brown, inconjunct in the orange, in opposition to Pluto and, in effect, the south node, which means it's also in conjunction to the north node. So this is Pluto. Anytime you're having, some type of angle to Pluto, if it's an outer planet, that's sort of telling you it's in generational, but it's also not setting up for a good scenario here. Okay, because Pluto tends to be massive type things that are going on. Now, the one good thing I see here is that Neptune and Mars are both trine to Neptune. So from my experience, sometimes when you have the Neptune in the natal chart being hit on, that may indicate you're getting medicine. Okay, not always. So in this case, Neptune on Neptune, yes. So I'm looking at this saying, yeah, something may be happening, may have to go on some type of meds. Now, let's take a look at our next one, which is the Saturn. And in this case, this is possibly a little bit more concerning. Because what we have is we have an opposition, we have an inconjunct, and we have a square. So Saturn is what? Restriction when it's in a difficult angle. It's opposition to Sun, which is conflict, which means that, again, restriction. So this is indicating maybe blood flow, maybe the rhythm, so something's off here. We've got that inconjunct going to, again, the Pluto and the south node, where you're giving out. Now we have the square to Neptune. So yeah, this is possibly indicating whenever you have Saturn, Neptune squares, like a Neptune square to Saturn or a Saturn square to Neptune, could indicate issues with the health. Not always, but could indicate. So now we've got, in addition to the two in the previous charts, we now have these two issues, or three issues. So we've got 5 difficult angles going on, with one okay angle. So now let's take a look at the next one. and that is the Jupiter. In this case, what do we have? We have Jupiter in opposition to Uranus. What's that telling us? Something that's too much. But it's in opposition to Uranus, which is unexpected. Difficult angle. So this is sort of saying, yeah, something unexpected is coming through. We've got the sun being hit on, but also Pluto. If we knew what houses they sort of ruled in that birth chart, we could know a little bit more. But in this case, yeah, this is something that's saying, yeah, we could be coming up for some type of health issue, maybe some other type of issue. Could even be something like a job change, being laid off from a job, car accident. So a lot of times we can't decipher it down unless we have a good birth time. So in this case, we have 6 angles that are difficult. We've got 1 okay angle. Things like this, you always want to check to see if we do have okay angles. And that Neptune, trining Neptune, indicating, yeah, this is something that medicine maybe could help. Now, and you compare that with what we had with the fall, it's a lot less. That's why I was saying, yeah, he does have the heart issues and everything else, but this seems to be more just, a little bit less of an incident. Now, we still have that node that needs to sort of hit Mercury to make sure, yes, that what I'm saying is correct. But overall, when you see a chart with a lot of angles versus charts with just a few angles, you're sort of looking for less to happen on charts with fewer angles versus a chart with a lot of angles. I hope this helped explain a little bit more of Fetterman's chart, and have a great day. Bye now.